everybody, and welcome again to Apathetic Enthusiasm. I am Brandon.
And I'm Travis, coming to you from separate garages.
Yeah. So we found, well, I don't know if we've actually found this, but it seems to be that distance has its benefits, and in this case, it's far easier to record an actual episode video-wise when we're separate, thanks to the magic of Skype.
Yeah, I have taken zero time or effort to actually make decent video on my end. But it's I am traveling at the moment. I haven't shaved in like 2 weeks. It's a busy time in my life.
That's right. What have you been up to, Travis?
I have been cruising around my old stomping grounds. I am back in
your sixth foe.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
In my minivan, because that's real gangsta.
Did they have minivans in 64?
I don't know.
1964.
They were all station wagons.
Cruising around in my Aerostar 6 foe.
But yeah, so I've been hanging around Southern California, visiting with tons of family and friends. Took a trip to Disneyland. Got my whole crew up into the Magic Kingdom for a couple of days.
The Disney crew, which
was good, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's really okay. So a small backstory: when my wife and I were dating, we had Disneyland annual passes.
Yeah,
and we would just go up there all the time, hang out. That was just like our spot that we would go to.
Yeah. And
then now I have 3 kids, and it completely changes the experience of going to the parks.
Yeah.
I was there for 3 days and did not get to ride Space Mountain until the 3rd day. I mean,
hey man, that's not cool.
I mean, this is the world that I live in now. This is the times. But no, we had a great time, and the kids had a ton of fun.
Yeah.
And we've all, for the most part, recuperated completely from that trip within a trip. But things are good.
I agree with the Disneyland like being different with a kid, right? And like, so I went a couple months ago, but the last time I went was when I was just home from Korea for that month, right? In like 2014, and the kid was only like 2.5, right? And like we're like, oh cool, let's go to Disney, let's take him to Disneyland, and he's still too young to really appreciate that stuff yet. Sure. And we can't go on any rides, and we're like, oh, I guess we'll go on Small World, which is fine.
Over and over again.
Which is fine because it does get hot there. I knew it was super hot for you.
It was like 106 the first day I was there. It was the only time in my life I've ridden Small World twice in a row, just because the air conditioning was so glorious in that ride. It was totally worth it. Like, there was no part of that ride that I disliked because the air conditioning made up for it in so many ways.
And the music is catchy, so
it is. I mean, it's so catchy. My kids have been singing it nonstop for the last week, and I'm slowly slipping into madness. But so we did Disney, and we've been hanging out. I guess for our regular listeners, normally we would be onto a topic by now.
Yeah, that's right.
But this is more of a Apathetic Enthusiasm on the road sort of episode. So we have a lot of topics that I feel like we should have like a motorcycle revving sort of sound effect, and then like, I don't know, some sort of country music or something. But you get right on that, Brandon. You
get your mini running. Dun, 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 dun. LCD video. I don't know.
And I got that DVD player in my van, and it is the craziest thing. It's never been that quiet in my car ever.
God.
It's
what my dad did when he was a kid with like all his brothers and sisters and cousins. Obviously they didn't have, DVDs in the cars back then. So they just piled into the car as like a 4-seat car with like 8 of them. And they just like pile into the back and like just stack themselves.
This sounds horrible, but I picture those old diagrams from like the slave ships, like coming back, just like I'm sorry, that's
they did they did drive a '64 Amistad. Is that where that's going?
That's a good joke. Good job.
Thanks. Anyways, so this is Apathetic Enthusiasm on the Road. Travis is moving. He's moving to Omaha, Nebraska. I am staying here in Hawaii, and so this is the format. Well, I mean, not this particular show, but we're going to be distanced here from now on.
This is that transitional period that we were preparing everyone for a while. We are smack dab in the middle of it.
And I think this episode is going to really demonstrate how different our lives have been
the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. So you went to Disneyland. I went
to work.
I went to work. Yeah. I also did something. I think I went on a hike. No, I don't know. I did see. I went on vacation. Well, not vacation. A work vacation to Colorado Springs for about a week, and I saw some old friends there, and I saw The Conjuring 2.
All right. Yes. So you are definitely our horror genre expert.
Yes.
On the podcast. This is a movie I have not seen.
So you haven't seen The Conjuring 1.
No, and how could I possibly see the sequel without seeing the first one? It just wouldn't be right.
That's right. Ask me a question about the movie, Travis, and I'll. You know what? I have an idea. This Apathetic Enthusiasm on the Road. I want you to tell me what the plot of The Conjuring 2 is.
Okay, so I'm gonna start with everything being very dark.
Yeah.
And for some reason, very wet.
So far, so good.
Okay, good. All right. That's just every horror trailer I've seen for the last decade. So Conjuring, I'm gonna take a stab at this, but I'm gonna say that there was a house that was haunted,
okay,
and a family moved into it.
Okay.
And then they got haunted by the thing that was haunting the house.
Oh man.
Twice.
You were so
The Conjuring 2.
You actually, so you're not that far off when you say that. You're not.
Why don't you hit us with the real plot?
Surprisingly, you're not too far off. Yeah. So in The Conjuring 1, The Conjuring and The Conjuring 2 are based off of the stories about real people. This man and wife who were kind of like paranormal exorcists, kind of, in a way, right?
Ghost hunters.
Yeah.
On like the Discovery Channel or something.
Basically, but supposedly with more proof of the paranormal, right?
Sure enough.
So anyways, The Conjuring 2, it's The Conjuring 1 is really good. Chelsea and I both really like the movie. James Wan, who directed the movies. I won't really get into the plot. I don't need to. It's a haunted house movie. And they're really good. But James Wan, he does something. The suspense in horror, he gets it. And in horror, like comedy, like a lot of other things, right? It's built off of timing. Suspense scares are built off of timing. And for people who are horror fans, they get used to these beats, right? This timing, the lead up to certain things. And so we're like, okay, well, something's gonna pop out at us now. And then you're like, oh, there it is. Cool, I expected it. But James Wan does.
It becomes formulaic almost to where you're not scared by it. You just know how they work, and so you just kind of understand the process too much. Exactly.
And James Wan, he subverts that timing a little bit. He knows that timing so well that he knows a different timing to screw up the timing of people who are expecting it. So like I'm watching the movie. I'm like, okay, all right, okay, here it comes, okay. Oh God. And I'm in the theater, right? And the theater's packed, and everybody jumps, and everyone's scared.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And I do just like I do the jump, and like kind of like look around, like, yeah, no, I knew that was gonna happen.
Yeah, I totally. It didn't get me at all, guys. Totally
God, did it again. So, anyways, it was really good. I recommend it to anybody who likes horror movies.
Now, you said you really like The Conjuring 1.
Yeah.
How would you say The Conjuring 2 improves upon the first one? Is just on par with it? Or are
I'd say
there any issues you had with the sequel?
I would say it's on par with it. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Good. Yeah, so I also went to the movies while I was off.
That's right.
I also saw a sequel.
Yes.
This was
Debbie does Dallas too. The Dallaser.
The more Dallas. It was Finding Dory.
That's right.
Pretty much the same plot. No, I'm gonna ask you to guess the plot of Finding Dory. No.
Okay.
Have you seen Finding Dory yet? Did you get out to the theater? Oh, okay, good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You have a little rascal, and I know it is.
Yeah. So I saw it. I liked it. What did you think of it?
I enjoyed it. I don't know if I loved it, but afterwards, when I was thinking about the movie, I was like, yeah, I know there was nothing I disliked about the movie. So I felt as the story was going along that there were times where like I didn't know how far into the movie we were or something like the plot development. I was sometimes confused on the timing where I was like, okay, they very quickly got to the aquarium in the movie.
Yeah.
And then it was more, whereas the original Finding Nemo was this odyssey, sort of this epic journey from one place to another to try and get to where Nemo was.
Yeah.
Like it this felt more just like, okay, they're already in the place they need to be. They're just in these little
pockets.
Scenes, like pockets of experiences within that place. And so it's more, it felt more to me like little episodes or shorts that were all kind of put together.
They seemed kind of disjointed sometimes. I felt like they didn't always necessarily go with one another necessarily. Here's my problem with the movie. I liked the movie. I liked it a lot. It's obviously not as good as Finding Nemo.
That's a hard pill to swallow right there. But yeah,
what bothered me is like Finding Nemo. Yeah, it's fish talking and they're having this adventure, right, and doing all this stuff, and some of that stuff you can ignore and forget a little bit. But Finding Dory does like more cartoonish things, like more. They stretch the believability a little bit too much.
Yeah, the suspension of disbelief is pulled a little bit tighter.
Yeah,
almost to a breaking point.
Yeah, like anytime Dory or one of the other saltwater fish is in fresh water and is breathing fine.
Got me every single time. Every time.
I'm not alone. Thank you.
There's a scene where Nemo and Marlin are in a tank near like a like a shop, and there's like a plastic like frog or plastic fish swimming around or something.
Yeah.
And I in the theater turned to my wife and I'm like, do you think that they properly salinated that tank for the plastic fish that they're trying to sell? Because I don't think Marlin and Nemo would be doing so well in standard fresh water.
They need to have partially them drowning and also just rash. I think they get a rash.
Like they should just speak with like a deeper accent and like maybe like just sort of like a raspy voice, just like, no, I'm fine, it's good.
Gosh. And then of course like the climax of the film, like just too much.
Yeah, no, and the characters are fun and they're gonna sell a ton of toys because they produced a ton of new characters that they can market to my children.
Who's your favorite new character? This is a true test of our friendship.
No.
Or series of characters.
I'm trying to take.
I'm giving you a hint, so don't be wrong.
No, I mean we have the Septipus. That's one of the first ones. He's not my favorite. Series of characters. I honestly, I like the beluga whale a little bit. Um, I don't know his name. Um, but
Baloo. It's
he
Baloo.
is Baloo. Okay,
But
well,
bare
it's the,
necessities.
the bear. But he grew on me a little bit throughout. Just with the way he got really super confident once he got his echolocation back.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying to think of who else new we had. We had the nearsighted whale shark, and who else is?
It's the sea lions, man.
No, okay, yeah, those guys are pretty good.
just that one with the eyebrows. Huh?
Did you stay through? Did you stay throughout the credits to the very end?
Of course, we always do.
Yeah. I thought it was a very nice touch to bring back the folks from the dentist office. Sorry, spoilers for the folks.
As if we're not spoiled enough.
Yeah, we but yeah, and just to bring them back, even just to acknowledge those characters, because that's really the only thing that was in the original that they couldn't organically include in the new film. I think it's good. I think it's a solid sequel, and yeah, I mean, I liked it.
Yeah, I did really like it. Of course, I had those issues. I was interested just with like her origin story and all the different types of extra fish and animals that we saw. Which brings me, actually, maybe this was a forced segue or not, doesn't matter. It's segueing. We are now segueing. I watched another movie recently with Chelsea about animals. This one not so friendly. It's on Netflix. You guys should not check it out. It's called Zombies.
What?
Zombies.
Now you say zombies, and I immediately think that this is on like Netflix Kids as like happy cartoon animals zooming around or something. But
honestly, that would probably be a better series than this. No, Zombies is it's zoo zombies. Essentially.
Okay, now I'm gonna stop you right there because again, I've heard nothing.
Tell me what this movie is about.
I've heard nothing about this. So I can go two ways.
Okay.
Zoo zombies can either be like a normal zoo full of animals that have all turned into zombies, or, and this is my preference, is a zoo full of different types of zombies.
Oh, that's pretty good too.
Am I wrong on all accounts here?
No, you know what? I think I'll actually make a movie about zoo zombies, and it'll probably be better than this.
Okay.
No, Zombies is in fact your first choice, which is there's like a nature reserve, and some kind of virus gets out, and it starts with, of course, the chimpanzees, and then it spreads to all the other zoo animals. That turns them into crazed zombies. So you have giraffes that are zombies that are killing people. You have, oh my god, there's a gorilla, right?
Of course there is.
It's so bad. The effects are like, if you were to give me like a week with Adobe Premiere, and I was like,
like After Effects, right?
yeah. You're like
with zero knowledge whatsoever.
Get an image, get some video of people riding an elephant or just elephants, and then put people on top of it after the fact. That's how good the effects were in this. Like,
I've seen your MS Paint skills, and I don't.
Oh my god! I just MS painted somebody, a miniature person sitting on a throne of chicken wings. Don't doubt my MS Paint skills.
Don't come into my house and sling dirt,
dude. It's so bad. It's by Asylum Pictures. This guy gets ripped in half by a couple of giraffes. There's like a crappy like person in a gorilla suit, but then sometimes it's computer animated gorilla. Other times it's if you like just terrible, terrible movies, go see Zombies.
Yeah.
Chelsea and
Fired
I
up on Netflix.
We killed each other.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's why we're on the road.
Yeah. Apathetic enthusiasm on the road. Okay,
Don't go see it.
so I will
Zombies.
not watch that.
Hashtag Zombies.
Hashtag Zombies. What else is on your list? I know that there's a big season finale that happened this last week that we need to get to. We're about a week behind on it, but that gives the streamers time to catch up, I guess.
Here's what I have left, Travis, on my list of things. I have VR helmet crap.
Oh yes.
Geocaching. I wrote that down just because it was there.
It's like treasure hunting.
Check it off. I just checked it off. We talked about Disney. So VR helmet, Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Twilight Zone, The Shadow.
So I'll tell you guys a little bit about my experience. I have a good friend out here, Tyler, who
Barry.
Is not Tyler Berry, not Tyler Perry.
Tyler Berry. It's Chuck Berry's cousin.
Chuck Berry. Yeah. But I brought my family over to his house, and he's basically a very good friend of mine from like elementary school, high school, and his wife has been.
Wait, hold on a sec. They let people get married that young out there?
Yeah.
He's your friend from elementary school, and he's already married? Jeez, that's crazy.
Wait, what? I don't get the joke.
He's your friend from
yeah, we were in elementary school at the same time, Brandon.
You're still in elementary school? Okay.
But yeah, so he's been my friend for a long time. His wife and my wife were childhood friends, so we're all hanging out. We went to Corvette Diner. If you are familiar, it's a good place, fun for the kids.
I only know Corbin Burnson.
Yeah. Anyway, and so he tells me, he's like, all right, once the families are like done, right, and they go back home, if you want to come back to my house, I have an HTC Vive, and you need to check it out. You need to check it out, right?
Yeah.
So, this used to be a tech podcast at one point in time.
Yeah, those were
for
the
those
days.
for those of you that are not familiar, there are two sort of leading competitors right now in the VR space. The Oculus Rift is sort of the one that most people have heard of, but HTC is also in the game, and they have their Vive, which is a VR system that is available for purchase if you have the money, which I do not at the time, nor do I have a computer that can support it. But the basic rundown that I got from my buddy Tyler is it's a headset. There are a couple controllers, and then there are like sensors that you position in two corners of the room that actually map the room. And so he hooked it all up. He totally like transformed his living room. And then he was like, yeah, just come over and I'll watch you be an idiot in my living room for like an hour, right?
Yeah.
So I was a little skeptical, and I know we've talked a little bit about this, about how gimmicky VR is. I know a lot of companies are talking about it. A lot of companies are trying to make it into a thing. But this was the first time I really had an opportunity to try out the full platform, try out a variety of different software titles.
The full
shebang. I got the bug. I was hooked. The very first thing that I did, aside from his like loading screen, which he set up to be the holodeck from Star Trek, which I don't know. That alone, I was like, this is why we'll always be friends, you and me, Tyler. But
Tyler
yeah,
Perry.
and so Tyler, my good friend from elementary school.
Loved him in Gone Girl. Yeah.
And then the first thing, he's like, okay, I'm gonna set you up with a tutorial, which was made by Valve, and it is they basically pulled some elements in from Portal games and things like that, and just being in this open space where like stuff is folding into the floor and robots are flying around, and you are stacking your hands on it.
Yeah, no, I'm folding.
Yeah, it just, I was immediately kind of immersed into it.
Yeah.
And it was a really easy to learn system that didn't feel like it was in the way. So the headset was very comfortable. The controllers made sense once I started using them.
Yeah.
And a lot of the games actually will create a
virtual world.
Yes, a virtual reality, if you will. But they'll show the controllers within the VR space. So because there's a natural tendency, especially when you're learning a new controller, to like look down for the A button or something like that. And when you have a VR helmet on, you can't actually see them. So I asked Tyler, because I'm looking at these controllers in my hand, and they have like a little power indicator on them, letting you know what the battery life on them is.
Right.
And I was like, hey, is that battery indicator on the controllers in real life? He's like, no, there's no point for that. So they just show you within the VR space like what the battery levels are. But anyway, that said, I spent the
future is now.
I'm so nerding out about this whole thing.
Future is now. They show you the battery level virtually.
Okay,
my
so here.
God.
Sorry, I'm getting way too excited.
I don't need this phone anymore. The future.
The future is now. So here are the things that I did that night. I painted in a 3D space, and there's a lot of videos of that stuff going around. But that was really cool. I tried out the Valve Test Lab, which it was really just a combination of miniature experiences and mini games, really.
Yeah. Like Wii Sports or.
Yeah, there was like an archery one where you have a VR bow and arrow and you're shooting stuff that's trying to come towards your castle. Yeah, I know, it's real.
No, oh man, if they have like a disc golf one eventually,
it's very, very possible.
Is it VR-y possible?
It's virtually possible.
Sorry, I'm interrupting.
No. And I can't remember the name of it right now, but there was an arcade-style game. What?
That's the name of it.
It's called John, yeah. But there was a VR game where it's sort of like an arcade-style, like old shooter type, like Galaga type thing.
Okay. Yeah.
Except because it's in a 3D space, all your dominant hand, whichever hand you choose, is the ship, and then you're
keep going. No, I'm just telling the viewers that it's my right hand.
Oh, your dominant hand is your right hand. Which congrats to the viewers. The audio podcast folks will catch that.
Well, I was doing that for the viewers, right? Not for you. So you're supposed to keep talking,
and it distracted me. Okay. Anyway, so but yeah, and so you're shooting all these little ships around, and it's fun. Anyway, all that to say, I played a bunch of games in this, and I'm hooked by it. I think that VR has a real chance of being commonplace in households, at least as commonplace as like current gen gaming systems. I'm not saying this is going to happen this year or next year, but I would say within 10 years, I think it's a very real possibility, especially with companies like Sony and Microsoft that are developing their consoles to be VR ready. It's going to happen, dude. As much as you don't like it, it's going to happen.
It's not that I don't like it. It's that I don't think it's going to be a thing. It's going to be as gimmicky as 3D televisions, as the Kinect, as Wii motion controls, as the PS Move. They're moving towards that stuff, right? And before VR becomes commonplace, stuff like you've seen Her, right? Like
sure, yeah.
like more holographic stuff to me is going to be things that are going to be more commonplace, right? Because you don't have to go out of your way for a holograph to if it comes to you, right? Like that to me, that's the future, is things that come to you, not going to a stand, playing on a headset and being like, okay, here we go. Like however comfortable it is. I mean, I know. I mean, I just know from experience. If my headphones are on the other side of the room, I'm like, I don't want to record tonight. you, you know, it's just obviously that's just a poor example, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying like they've tried VR for a long. It's been around for a long time. It's not new, and sure they're making it more affordable and it's more intuitive. But I don't know if I think it's a stopgap before the real stuff that'll be next gen, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I understand, and I'm with you, and I think I held that same opinion for a long time before I really got a chance to use it for a long period of time. And the reason I say that is even if it's not standing up in the middle of your living room and mapping the room and doing like VR experiences where you're moving around and moving your whole body and things like that, the level of the technology now for immersive gaming, even if you're just sitting on your couch with a headset on, you feel like you're more in the game, and so that, and to me, like just the subtleness of being able to move your head left and right, and it's crazy responsive, and it doesn't feel like laggy or anything like that. It just feels like you're moving your head within that virtual space.
Yeah.
And so for me, even if you're playing a game like something that we would play on Xbox, Destiny or The Division or something like that, even if you have an Xbox controller in your hand, I think being able to appreciate that environment more just within the headset, yeah, the rest of this stuff is great on top of it, but I think this will add another level to gaming that, yeah, maybe not everybody's gonna jump on it right away, but I know people that have a primary gaming console is the Wii. So I mean, it's not gonna be for everyone.
Those guys, yeah, but that's where what I mean by saying it's a stopgap. It's as they build up this VR technology, like that is going to be the jump into whatever's next down the line. I don't think that. I mean,
I just think that whatever is next down the line will include this kind of tech.
I mean, I don't disagree that it will include it. I just don't think that it'll be as widespread as. I don't foresee it becoming so widespread until it becomes accessible to the masses. And I made this.
Yeah,
I made the comparison, right, with the iPhone before and the iPod. As soon as the technology became intuitive and easily accessible to a majority of people, that's when MP3 players and smartphones really took the lead, right?
Yeah, I'll close with this. I feel that my personal experience, once I understood how the controllers were laid out, my ability to interface with the things I was doing was really pretty intuitive.
Mm-hmm.
The real thing, the challenge, I think, where they're at now, because I would argue that the hardware is at a good place where it needs to be, and now it's going to take developers creating games and experiences that justify the purchase price. Because what's going to happen, the purchase price for the hardware isn't going to come down and for a while unless they're selling them at where they're at now. And so they need the developers to kind of create that stuff that's going to continue to drive the business and get people playing full games. Because I mean, you're still limited to, a 2x3 foot space or something like that to move around in, and that creates challenges when you think about games where typically you're running around and doing things like that.
Yeah, I'll make this comparison to end it off on the in the mid '90s, right? You had the Super Nintendo, you had the Sega Genesis, you had TurboGrafx 16. I'll throw it out there
Hey, now.
just because I had one, right?
Yeah.
But then you had like the Jaguar, and you had the Neo Geo,
Yeah.
and part of the reason like the Jaguar failed and the Neo Geo failed was they were so damn expensive and they were so inaccessible price wise that they're kind of like, I'll just say elite just because I can't think of any other word. They're kind of elitist, right? Like it was much more difficult to get a hold in those systems, and because the masses didn't have easy access to them, I think that partially failed. And the only reason that you were able to experience the VR and have this revelation is because you had a friend who was either rich or lucky enough to have this available to you, that you could see how it worked. The majority of people who are out there, gamers included, do not have the funds to experience this. And that's why I say until it becomes more commonplace and more accessible, I don't see it happening.
Yeah,
Not saying it can't, but
I agree with you.
Yeah.
The couple things and these are E3 bullets, but Microsoft is planning to have an Xbox One that is VR ready. I think by 2017, and PlayStation is already setting up their PlayStation VR. So I can't speak for how those will integrate and the level of quality of those VR experiences, but I'm convinced that one day we could be standing in a field in the middle of Westeros, observing a mighty battle taking place. And that is my forced transition, ladies and gentlemen.
Segway, segway.
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones is over.
It's over. It's not over. The season's over.
So since Game of Thrones is still going, the season 6 is over now. There's still a lot of people who haven't seen it. We'll just go ahead and say I won't talk about spoilers. All right. I don't actually want to talk about necessarily the show itself. Just vaguely, this season I like the season overall. What did you think of the season overall? Sans spoilers.
Yeah, I really enjoyed the season. There were some points where certain episodes felt a little bit slower than others, which I think it's part of what Game of Thrones is. It happens every year with so many characters, such a large amount of land to cover, and different people. Some of the storylines are not as interesting or developed as others, so there are times when you have to get through different scenes or different character arcs to get to the stuff that you're really interested. But overall, I felt like for being the first season that didn't have a wealth of book information to go off of.
Sure.
I feel like we got a really great Game of Thrones season. Really cool things happened that we will not spoil for anyone. But I like where the series is going. I like the way that in the season finale they positioned different characters to make me eager to come back.
Yeah.
And that's not always the case. I hate to continue to stomp on The Walking Dead, but with The Walking Dead season finale, it really it gripped to a big cliffhanger and sort of a big question of like what happened as being the thing that is going to bring you back. I don't feel like there were really any cliffhangers per se in the Game of Thrones finale. It was more of a, hey, check it out. We've got all of these people positioned to go do really cool things or be in interesting positions, and you don't come back because you're eager to find out the answer to a question per se. You're just excited about what's happening and excited to see those things continue.
Right. Yeah, because at the end of the season, you're not saying to yourself, who's gonna die? Someone's gonna die. Oh my God, what's gonna happen? At the end of this season, you're like, okay, this is where the the path of our journey of the story is heading, and I want to see what the end of this story is going to be.
Exactly.
I want to get to the end of the journey, and that's my biggest gripe with The Walking Dead, and I've said it multiple times on just on this podcast
ad nauseum.
Is that, like, stories have beginnings, middles, and ends, and The Walking Dead is they don't. Kirkman says he has an end in mind, and I believe him when he says that. But the showrunners don't. They're like, let's drag this out as long as we can. And you know what? If the main characters die eventually, then we'll replace them with new characters.
Yeah,
and that's
there'll be new people that we fall in love with. Or something,
and you drag it out, and you make it to where you don't care anymore. And especially in such a pessimistic and cynical show as The Walking Dead, you don't want to do that. And
sure.
I've heard that complaint levied against Game of Thrones, but I always counter with, but Game of Thrones has a definitive end. And we know that now because there's 2 seasons left, 13 to 15 episodes, I think, is what the showrunner said.
Oh.
But anyway, I like the season. Of course, they had the slow episodes, but that's the nature of just shows in general. Shows can't be every episode be action, or something happening. They have to set, it's like chess. You set the pieces up for later down the road.
Okay, so for those of you who are all caught up with Game of Thrones, and perhaps you've been watching along with us all season, we do have our Game of Thrones Fantasy League.
That's right.
That you have so wonderfully been creating videos every week. Check them out on our YouTube channel or over at apatheticenthusiasm.com. But the season has wrapped. We have a victor. How did you feel about just how the GOTFL went this year as our MC and commissioner?
First thought, I want to give a shout out to the one person who commented and thumbs down on every single one of my videos.
We have a fan.
Honestly, like I said in one of the videos early on, like, hey, give me a thumbs down. I don't care. It at least lets me know that you watched it a little bit, right? Yeah. And so he did. He gave us a thumbs down on every single one of the videos and said, you suck on every single one of the videos. And in week 9, I responded back to him and I said, like, hey, thanks for commenting. And then we had like a little brief conversation where he ended up saying like, hey, the videos are actually not too bad. You're getting better. I just wish you had more footage from the show in there.
Yeah.
And I thought it was Caulfield. I thought it was John.
Yeah, who is actually, I think, the winner of our league.
Yeah, and I'm not entirely convinced that it's not him still. But whatever. But anyways, so that was the first thing. Second thing is, the show, the league. Here's the thing about fantasy sports, and I think Bob Carroll can attest to this. One of the coolest things about fantasy sports is you watch these players go out there, they get points for something specific. Run 5 yards, get a point, or throw a touchdown, you get 7 points, stuff like that. It's specific. It's part of the system.
It's scientific. I mean, there's
it's consistent.
Yeah, exactly. It's measurable. It's repeatable. It's it's
it's smart.
Yeah,
it's smart. Specific, measurable, attainable. I don't know what the other
testable.
Retweet.
Yeah,
hashtag. But so The Verge is a writer at The Verge is the one who set up this thing, the Game of Thrones. And so they're the ones who went over to Fantasizer and set up the points, and they're like, okay, you get a point for this, point for this, point for that, point for that. And then they do recaps every week. So what happened with I called it Game of Thrones Fantasy League for our purposes. What happened was the people who were doing the recaps over at The Verge, they're not consistent. And they said at the very beginning, like, yeah, we have these points labeled out, but I can make points for whatever I want, really. And I give points extra here, there. I'm the commissioner. I can decide the points.
It's highly subjective.
Exactly.
Highly subjective.
Highly. And that becomes the problem when you go a week where you're like, oh man, I tore this up. This guy came back. He is going to give me so many points. And then the recap comes out and you got 5 points. And somebody else, John Caulfield, gets like 100 points for whatever.
Man.
For an example, characters in the end on episode 10 of Game of Thrones Fantasy League got like 50 points just for going across a body of water. and there's nowhere in the actual scoring chart where they're like, oh yeah, give them 50 points for that. In the recap on the Verge, they're like, yeah, this isn't actually a scoreable item, but I figure like, hey, it's a pretty big deal. Let's give them 50 points each.
Yeah.
And then even that, they didn't give 50 points to a different character who was in that same collection of characters because they're like, yeah, well, he didn't deserve it.
What?
So if you get that character and you're like, what the heck? Come on, give me those points.
Yeah. No, I totally got you. It was fun. I like the Fantasy League aspects. It gives us another way to appreciate the show.
Yeah.
And I try not to get too competitive about it, which is obvious because I came in last place for our league. But,
well, I mean that goes along with the weird scoring.
Yeah, sure.
Let's be honest with
that. Plus my complete inactivity for the entire season. Anyway, folks, we talked about a whole lot of junk. Our minds are all over the place because we are all over the place.
That's right.
I actually hit the road tomorrow as of this recording, and we'll be driving for like 4 days halfway across the United States. I'm not doing any meetups or anything, so don't worry about missing it up on social media. But hopefully next week I will be in Nebraska. I don't know. Excuse me. I don't know if the internet will be better, worse, or indifferent.
Hashtag Travis Koff, by the way.
Yeah, that's
it's trending.
It's just trending on Twitter. But yeah, so we're sorry if this was a bit of a jumble for you, but this was the first time I've really gotten to have a conversation with Brandon in a couple weeks, so it was fun for me. I hope it was fun for you. If you want to check out more about Game of Thrones Fantasy League, any of these movies, or just the general stuff that we care about at the moment, you can find all of that at apatheticenthusiasm.com, plus a whole lot more. Social media wise, you can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/apatheticenthusiasm show. Follow us on Twitter at apathusiast and on Instagram at apathetic_enthusiasm. I don't even have to read it. I can't. You covered them up. Your head's covering them up, man. If you like this podcast, thank you so much for that. You can check it out on iTunes every Tuesday, where you can also leave us a 5-star review because that's just a kind and nice thing to do.
Yeah.
I know
what would Tyrion do?
What would Tyrion do? What would Dory do?
What?
I have downloaded, I think, 40 podcasts that are currently on my phone because I am taking a road trip this summer. If you are taking a road trip and you have not heard all of our episodes, check them out. Use your favorite podcast app and go download a backlog. We've been doing this for, 73 episodes now?
This is 74. This is 74, baby.
Dig into them archives.
Cock of the walk.
And if you like what you're hearing, please let someone else know about it. And let us know about it. We love to hear your comments, even if the comment says, you suck. We just want to know what you guys think about the episodes and your opinions about the things that we're talking about. So, anything I missed, Brendan?
No, I did keep track of the things we didn't talk about for our on the road stuff. But you know what? Guess what? You're going to be on the road next week too.
Yeah, I know.
On the road part 2. AE on the road part 2.
I bought a whole bunch of DC Rebirth comics that I intend on reading sometime in the next week. So hopefully we can talk about that a little bit.
Let's just get stuff out of the way that we're going to talk about next week. All right, DC Rebirth.
Yep.
Let's see. The Twilight Zone the Shadow comic book.
That's right.
And me talking to the creator about that.
A little S4YA crossover there.
And I was on the Manapau Hana podcast.
That's
for a
right.
little bit
you
to
were.
talk about World of Warcraft, which I'm temporarily back on.
Oh no. Oh no.
And so those three things are things that I want to bring up.
Okay.
So
all
those
right.
are
We'll
those
keep
are ones
those
we
in
didn't
mind.
talk about.
Get reading, kids. All right. Well, until then, I'm Travis.
Fight Club.
Fight Club 2.
Fight Club 2.
Yes. And
Fight
Comic
Club
Book
as
4.
well. Fight Club
Yeah.
2 as well.
Keep an eye out on the website for potential blog about that as well.
Okay, maybe we'll just
because I might make that in written form. Okay.
I watched a lot of David Cronenberg movies.
I've been watching Rick and Morty reruns because I have Hulu now. So
Oh, dude, season 2.
yeah, it's
Oh
on
my
there.
Okay,
So.
Rick and Morty. Orangutan. Joke. All right,
All right.
cool.
Brandon, it's great to talk to you.
Good seeing you, Travis.
All right, guys. Until next week, I'm Travis.
And I'm Brandon.
Okay, bye.
See you later.